Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the quadratic formula. And the easy way to remember the quadratic formula is this little story that I have. So, you're going to start off with x equals, and then you have the sad boy couldn't decide whether or not to go to the house party. Here's your little house. And then whether to go to the house party or stay home and be squared. And he didn't go, so he missed out on 4 awesome chicks. And it all ended at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so the first problem on your quiz is 5x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. So the first thing we're going to do is plug it into the equation. And when you plug it into the equation, you get negative 1 plus or minus square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 2, and this is all over 2 times 5. Okay? So now we're going to do what is under the radical. And the radical is another word for the square root. So we're going to bring down negative 1 plus or minus. And of course 1 squared is 1. And then negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Times negative 2 is 40. So 1 plus 40 all over 2 times 5 is 10. So 1 plus 4 is, of course, 41. So negative 1 plus or minus square root of 41 over 10. Now, we're going to find that the square root of 41 is, we're going to say 6.4. Okay? So then we're going to split this plus or minus into 2, so we get 2 different answers. So we're going to get negative 1 plus 6.4 over 10. Then you got negative 1 minus 6.4 over 10. Negative 1 plus 6.4 is 5.4. And then 5.4 over 10 is 0.54. And then we're going to come over here and negative 1 minus negative 6.4 is a negative 7.4 over 10. You get negative 7 or negative 0.74. And these two are your answers. Right here. The second question you have on your quiz is x squared plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. So we're going to plug it into your quadratic function, which is negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2 all over 2 times 1. And the reason that a is 1 is because there is no coefficient in front of the x, which leads us to believe that there is a 1. So then we're going to do what is under the radical. So you got negative 5 plus or minus the square root. 5 squared is 25 minus, let's see, negative 4 times 1 is 4, times 2 is negative 8, so 25 minus 8, and 2 times 1 is 2. So we're going to simplify that, and then it's going to become negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 17 all over 2. We're going to come over here. Square root of 17 for this case is going to be 4.12. Now we're going to split the plus or minus into 2 so that we get 2 different answers. So we're going to get negative 5 plus 4.12 over 2 and negative 5 minus 4.12 over 2. We're going to start over here. Negative 5 plus 4.12 is negative 0.88 over 2. That gives us negative 0.44. And negative 5 minus 4.12 is negative 9.12 over 2. Gives us negative 4.56. And these are your solutions. The third question on your quiz says 4x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals negative 3x. Now we learned early on in our math learning that you want to move it over so that you can figure out your answer. So we're going to add 3x plus 3x on each side, and our new solution is now 4x squared plus 8x plus 4 equals 0. Now that we have our new equation, because it equals 0, we can plug it into our quadratic formula. So we're going to get negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 4 times 4. All of that is going to be over 2 times 4. Now we're going to do what's under the radical first. So we're going to get negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared is 64. Negative 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. All over 2 times 4 is 8. So we end up with 64 minus 64 is 0. So negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 0 all over 8. And just to keep it consistent, the square root of 0 is 0. Now, we're going to split up this plus or minus into 2 so that we get 2 zeros, or 2 solutions, whichever way you refer to it as. Get negative 8 plus 0 over 8, and negative 8 minus 0 over 8. Coming over here, negative 8 plus 0 is negative 8. Divided by 8, you get negative 1. Negative 8 minus 0 is negative 8 over 8. You also get negative 1. And this is your solution. Okay, last but not least, we have 2x squared equals 10x plus 5. Now I'm going to move everything over here just because I don't want the leading variable to be negative. So after I do that, I'm going to get 2x squared minus 10x minus 5 equals 0. Now it is ready to be plugged into the quadratic formula. After I plug it into the quadratic formula, this is what I get. I have negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 5, and all of this is over 2 times 2. Now we're going to do what's under the radical first, just to stay consistent. So since this is a negative to a negative, we're going to get just the positive. And the little boy still can't decide, so it's plus or minus square root of 10 squared. Since the negative is in the parentheses, it does not apply. So we're going to get 10 squared is 100. Negative 4 times 2 is a negative 8 times a negative 5 makes it a positive 40. So, and all of this is over 2 times 2, which is 4. Now we're going to bring it down, 10 plus or minus. This is the square root of 140 over 4. And the square root of 140 in this case is going to be 11.83. Now we're going to split this up into plus and minus. So over here we're going to have 10 plus 11.83 over 4. And over here we're going to have 10 minus 11.83 over 4. Now 10 plus 11.83 equals 21.83 over 4. And when you divide that, you get 5.46. And over here, 10 minus 11.83 is negative 1.83 over 4. Divide that off, you get negative 4.46. And these two are your solutions.